It's time to sit down and relax for the good, the bad, and the sequel Q&A with your host, Doug.
Hey there, Doug here. So I hope you enjoyed last week's review with our special guest, Gina. If you want to take a stab and review a movie with us, you have to just follow us on social media at Sequels Only and suggest a sequel for us to do. Then we'll try our best to find someone who worked on it. So next week, Jamie and I are discussing the follow-up to the 1982 horror classic Poltergeist. Of course, I'm talking Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. And I was lucky enough to interview the writer of both films, Michael Grais. Michael is one interesting individual, and I had a lot of fun chatting with him. In the beginning, it seemed like he was a little bit like, hey, why is this guy talking to me? And then he really opened up, and he was definitely one of my favorites so far. We talked about his start in the industry, working with Spielberg, working with Seagal. You're not going to want to miss that. That is 6 minutes of pure joy. And we talked about other projects he has in the works. So I know you're going to enjoy this conversation because I know I did.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if you had a chance to listen to any of the episodes. If not, no big deal. What we do is really just talk about movie sequels because they're quite fascinating. And so before we dive into some of the movies that you did, so where does your story begin? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Illinois, on the north side of Chicago. And,
are you a Cubs fan, or is that Cubs or White Sox?
If you're a Cubs fan, you're doomed. The White Sox. But I'm not a big baseball fan anyway. But I grew up in Illinois, and then I went to school in the NYU Film School.
Oh, nice.
And I graduated. Yeah. I graduated from Emerson. I lived 3 years at NYU, then I graduated from Emerson for my last year.
Up in Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my daughter's name. That's funny.
It's a great town.
My wife wanted to go there in high school. She ended up staying local, going to Seton Hall.
Oh yeah. It's the most fun town if you're a college person.
Oh yeah, you had a good time.
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
What years were you in Boston?
Oh God, what years was I in Boston? 68, 69. I was there in 70 and 71.
Okay, so I know you weren't a baseball fan. Do you happen to go to any games at Fenway or Celtic games?
I did go to one game at the Fenway, just to go to one game at the Fenway. Yeah, it was fun.
That's an experience. And you've been to Wrigley, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Been to the only old one standing, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So you went to NYU. What got you that passion to want to go that direction?
Actually, it was the movie Blow Up. I saw that film and I said I want to make movies. And I had been going to a prep school kind of thing, and pre-college on the East Coast, and me and a couple of friends of mine drove to New York for this interview I had because I was going to Peru. And we were very high at the time. And I went in for this interview, and I just told this guy what I was writing and what I wanted to do. And he said, "How old are you?" I said, "I don't know, I'm 20, I think. I think it was 20, 19 or 20. He says, "You're in." I said, "Don't you want my grades and stuff?" He goes, "No, you're in." I said, "Okay." I said, "I don't want you to fool me because I'm about headed to Peru and I don't want to come back and find out I don't have a college to go to." He said, "No, I guarantee it. You're in." So that's how I got into NYU.
Wow. And how was Peru?
Peru was fantastic. Fell in love twice.
You did?
It was great. did a lot of photography in Peru, and then came back and went to NYU, and that was very difficult for somebody that had never lived in a large city before. It freaked me out at first.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming the first time you're there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the sirens and the trucks and everything going all night long. It's just, it was a lot for me to handle. And I lived around the block from Max's Kansas City. So that's the bar I went to. I don't know if you know what Max's, I don't know if you know Max, So, that was that crowd. So I went there and I thought, well, this is what New Yorkers look like. Okay, so, I changed my look to look like I belonged. And, I chased waitresses. So, it was, I had Martin Scorsese was one of my professors.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, he was fantastic. He would be stoned every night and come to class and tell us what he did the night before, and that was our class. He talked so fast, it was unbelievable. And Haig Manouchian was there, and I got to make some films, and I started writing films there. And there was no film. There were no film schools anywhere in the country. Film schools did not exist in even at the film departments. Film screenwriting did not exist. So when I got out of college, I went to University of Oregon for graduate school to get an MFA.
Nice. You're like following us.
I am following you.
Yeah, we lived in Oregon for a few years in Portland.
Cool. Yeah, Eugene was where I was at, and I'm a duck. Yeah.
You are a duck.
And and then so I drove down to L.A. and at that time you had to find somebody to teach you how to write screenplays. And so my parents knew the parents of a screenwriter in L.A., and so they made a call, and he agreed to see me, and then he started, teaching me to write screenplays. It took about 4 days, because I'd write something, he'd scream at me and kick me out of his house and tell me never to come back. I'd come back the next day, and he goes, "This is a little better, but get out anyway." And then finally said, "All right, you're starting to get it." And then on the fourth day, he said, "Okay, you got it. Now get out of here." So, and it was lucky that I did that, because a week later I got a call from the Beretta office saying that they wanted me to come to the set. So I had been given what the secretary to Robert Blake had told me was an approved storyline. A treatment or whatever. And so it was horrible. So I wrote back 2 or 3 pages of why this should never get made. And so I thought I would never see them again. So Robert Blake wanted to see me. I thought, oh God, what's going to happen? So I go down to the set, and I was watching them film a night scene, and then they said, "Why don't you go into Robert's trailer and wait for him?" And oh God, okay, it's gonna be quiet. He won't. No, they don't want anyone to see the murder. So he comes in and he goes, "I loved what you wrote." I hated that treatment. I hated that story. There was no way to make it work. So he said, "What do you want to do, kid?" So I said, "Well, I guess I should start on rewrites, because I've never written a teleplay before, so let's start there." He goes, "Okay, that's what we'll do. Okay, and I'll see you." And so I thought, okay, I leave. I think, I'll never see him again. I get a call, 4 or 5 days later, come down to Universal Studios. The producers of Beretta and the director of the next episode want to meet with you. So I went down and had 2 days of meetings with the director and the producer on a rewrite on a script, and one of them's name was Bernie, and I went into his office at the end of the second day. I said, Bernie, when do you want this by? Thinking, next month, whatever. He said, tomorrow. So I said, okay, do I have an office? He goes, yeah, right down there. So I didn't type. I wrote longhand. So I had to kind of guess how many, it had to be a certain number of pages. It had to be 52 pages or 50 pages, something like that. So I had a guess in terms of, writing on legal pads. And so then it goes down to when I'm done writing, I turn it in. It goes down to the typing pool. And so it's at the typing pool. So I come back late afternoon. I go into Bernie's office. He's on the phone and he's saying, we got lucky. Just whoever he's on the phone with. And so then he gets off the phone. He says, you did good, kid. You did good. He says, we start shooting tomorrow. So that was my first credit. It was called Pay or Die, and there was more dead bodies in that show than in any. It was actually brought up before Congress when they were trying to tell the networks that there was too much bloodshed in their films, in their TV shows. And they used my film as an example.
Look at that. So what was the next step with that? So are you on set during it?
No, I was doing rewrites for them for, it was the season after they won the Emmy. And
okay.
So it was a prestigious gig, and I just rewrote scripts. Because I knew exactly how Robert wanted, what he would say, what he wanted to say, and how he wanted to say it. And so I did that for a season, and then I was on the cop show circuit, Starsky and Hutch and Kojak and stuff like that. And then I got a pamphlet of a Canadian Royal Mounted Police report of the largest manhunt in Canadian history that took place during the Depression. And I wrote a screenplay based on that, and it ended up being called Death Hunt. And it had Charles Bronson, Lee Marvin, Angie Dickinson, Carl Weathers, I forget who else. Yeah, it was amazing. So that was my first film. And then Spielberg got me and wrote Poltergeist with him. And then the rest.
Yeah. So just to touch on Death Hunt again, so when you write a movie like that and it gets picked up by the studio, are you there with the director, like the casting director, like knowing who they're going to cast, or do you find out afterwards?
No, I'm if I'm not producing, I'm just a writer.
Okay.
And I'm not there for, the producer was Al Ruddy, who won an Oscar for The Godfather. So he wasn't telling me much of anything.
Yeah.
So I would find out afterwards who they cast. But we actually had written it for Charles Bronson for the lead role.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. We took a description of him from a fan magazine, from an interview in a fan magazine, from the writer had described what he looked like. And that was the description I put in the script. And so he read it, obviously, and saw himself in that role.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was great in it. They were both great.
He's
and
great.
to meet them was just amazing. It was really
it kind of
experience.
unreal if you think about it, like your journey, like just 5-6 years before that, you have that guy, that connection you had, teaching you how to write, in 4 days, throwing you out, and then like 5-6 years later, you're like writing a movie that stars two legends.
Yeah, it wasn't even that much long. It wasn't even that much longer. But yeah. And it was weird. They flew us up to where they were shooting in Canada, Lake Louise, I think it was, and they said that. We said, can we? We want to go see the set. The director was really nice. He said, of course, that's what you're here to do. To come see what you did. So he said, it's over there behind that bunch of trees. I couldn't see a thing. So we go down there, and we get through the bunch of trees, and there's the town that we wrote with the names of the stores that we wrote on them. It was just mind blowing. It was just incredible. That's probably the wildest, most exciting thing that happened to me in Hollywood in terms of
you write something on a piece of paper and you see it on a sign or
that was about a paragraph long, and it was a whole town.
So here's a question I was going to ask later about like Poltergeist and some of your other movies. But did you ever write like personal things into it? Like maybe like the street you grew up on or like the town you grew up on? You did?
The tree that comes through the house, that happened. That happened to me when I was a little boy. I took a nap in my house, and we get big thunderstorms and tornadoes, and not tornadoes, but hurricanes. I don't know what the hell they are. But anyway, and I woke up, and my parents were out, and my sisters, who were older than me, they were both out, and so the person that was staying with me was gone, so I was all alone, so I was really scared. So I was sitting at the top of the stairs, at the landing on the top of the stairs, and the trees are blowing, and they're, clacking against the window, and then a tree comes smashing through the window.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was it. And that scared the living hell out of me. So that was in the movie.
Yeah, out of the two in that movie of those real life things that can happen, because I don't think you moved into a house that they moved the headstones. But no, I was thinking maybe he had a fear of clowns, but no, the tree thing.
I did have a fear of clowns.
Oh, you did have okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. And then in one draft they had, I had that there were piranhas. I used to fantasize that there were piranhas in the shag carpet, so I'd have to jump a certain way to the bathroom at night.
Whoa.
And that never got in the script, but they had. There was a bunch of things that got in there that, our fears, fears that I had, and, stuff we made up. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does Poltergeist come about? Like that idea?
Steven saw, Death Hunt, and then he read a script that we wrote called, Turn Left or Die, which was about traffic controllers, and it was a comedy. And, it took place at Chicago's O'Hare. So we had done the research for it. It was really well researched. We got permission from the union to go up into the tower, and we were up there for like a week, listening to these guys and taping them and, listening to their, getting their dialogue right and everything. And the screenplay was really good. And so he saw Death Hunt, read that script, and then hired us. That's how it happened. Oh, here's a little thing that's interesting. He brought us up to his house, and we were watching a movie called A Guy Named Joe, I think it was. I don't know, or something, Angel, I don't know what it was. Something like that. It was about a guy who's two guys who are in the service, and they're both in love with the same girl, and one of them dies, and the other guy is jealous when his friend goes out with her, but then he sees that she really needs somebody, so he tries to talk her into, and tries to talk his buddy, being a ghost, talk him into being with her or something like that. So then he started talking, then we saw that movie, said, okay, I really wasn't excited about it very much, as you can tell. But then we started talking about, this ghost story that he wanted to write, where the ghost comes out of the television. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So, we were young, so we didn't really know how outrageous we were being. So the next day I called them up and I said, Stephen, I really appreciate you offering us that one with the guy named Joe one, but we really like the ghost story better. So he said, well, I'm in negotiations with somebody and they don't look like they're going good. So if they fall through, you guys will be hired. That's me and my ex-partner, Mark Fichter. So, that happened. Who he was in, I think that who he was negotiating with was Stephen King.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. So we got the gig. And then we knew that, we wanted to be involved with, and while that film was being made, we were on strike. So we were out striking our own movie, which was, was a strange Hollywood incident. Yeah. And so we knew we wanted to be producers so we'd have more control, so to do what you're talking about, to know who's being cast and to have a say in things. And so when they came to us and said, do you want to do Poltergeist 2? We said, yeah, only if we get to produce it. So they said, okay. So that was how we did Poltergeist 2, which was our first production.
So that's how they came up to it. It's been a few years afterwards, and the first one did so well. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird because it was like 4 years afterwards.
It was, yeah.
I think, yeah. And we had written it. If we knew better, we would never have done any of that flying stuff at the end with the angels and the flying and all that crap. I hated that. But Richard Edlund, who was the special effects guy, who was hot as could be. He was the hottest guy, around for special effects at that time. And he had that equipment and he wanted to use it. So he convinced us into rewriting the ending of the script, which was more like, I don't know, that Robin Williams movie with, when he goes to get his wife who's in the heaven or hell, wherever she is.
Oh, yeah. I forget the name of the movie.
What Dreams May Come or whatever.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. And, so he convinced us to do the flying stuff, which I regret. But, it just would never have happened if it wasn't our first production. If we knew more, we wouldn't have done it. But we were green, so you make mistakes, you live with them.
Yeah, and you know what else is fascinating, especially when it comes to sequels, because that's what we basically only talk about, is a lot of them are done, even in sometimes a shorter span, and they don't get that core cast back. Yeah. But with this, you were able to do it. And
yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
Well, it wasn't easy. We went to see Joe Beth, and we found out, talking to her, and we found out that her grandmother had died. So we said, that's really interesting. We'll put that in the script, and so she agreed to do the movie. And we went each of the characters, to the male actor. What's his name?
Craig T. Nelson.
Craig T. Nelson. It was funny as hell. And he had experience with a Native American shaman. And so we said, well, that would be great for the person who comes instead of, the little lady. And so we geared it to their taste. And so we brought the team back, and Freddie Fields took credit for it. And he had a headline in the Variety. Freddie Fields puts Poltergeist 2 team back together.
Oh man.
He hadn't even been on the movie at that time. So yeah. So that's Hollywood.
No, it is. And that vomit monster, that scene is really freaky scene.
Yeah. And Kane was I heard that they're doing a prequel or a sequel or something with using Reverend Kane as the evil person.
No way.
From Poltergeist 2. That's what I heard the other day.
Oh, okay.
And so, I'm talking to MGM, see what's up. But I'd love to do that. And that would be great.
Yeah, I'll jump forward a little bit, and then I want to go back to a couple other movies that you did. But so when they're doing the new Poltergeist, when they did the remake, in 2015, are you brought on? Are you involved in that process?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. They just pay us.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. They just pay us a lot of money, and we stay home.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't mind. They can do that all they want. Yeah.
What if they asked you if they were going to do like a prequel? Would that be something that you'd be interested in doing?
If they asked me to do the story of with Reverend Cain, I would do that. And if they don't ask me to do it, I might do one with a preacher myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my invention. So what the hell?
No, it is. Yeah. So when it came to the third movie, did you have anything?
Oh, the third movie.
They came out with a third one.
Okay, so we had spent 2 years on Poltergeist 2. From the time we started writing to the time we wrapped.
A long time.
Right? Yeah, a long time. And our first production, we were exhausted. And after the Monday after Poltergeist 2 opened, some producer or some it wasn't a producer, it was an executive from the studio, comes to our office and says, "How would you like to do Poltergeist 3? And my head just dropped onto the desk. I said, absolutely not. I went, no way. So we bowed out of that. We had the other things we wanted to do.
Yeah, they took some time off for a little bit. The next thing, again, IMDb is not always right, but it has you an executive producer for Great Balls of Fire.
Oh, when you say time off, there was no time off.
Oh, I know you're still writing over it.
Yeah, we're still getting hired to write screenplays for people, constantly. It's just that, until something gets made, people think that you haven't been doing anything for 4 years.
No, I know. Is there anything that you wrote over the years that you still to this day, like something you wrote in the 80s or early 90s that you still want to be able to get made today that you love so much?
Well, it was sort of kind of, Top Gun was kind of stolen from a script that we wrote. Which was, the name of the story was The Truest Sport, written by, some famous writer, I forget his name. And, it was just a short story. And so, one of the guys, over at Paramount read it and loved it, and it was in turnaround from Tom Mount put it in turnaround because they had done a movie with Richard Gere where he played a sailor, and he didn't want to do another picture with it. I don't know, it was crazy. Anyway, so they come up with reasons that are just ridiculous. Anyway, so he wanted to do it. He brought us to his office. He was this famous guy over at Paramount, and his partner is, big shot today, very big. And they did Top Gun and Flashdance and
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, all those movies. And then this guy took a dive and died. But he wanted to do it, and so but he went to Tom Mount to get it in turnaround Tom Mount. Although he wouldn't make it, he wouldn't sell it to him. So they made a movie called Top Gun, and that's what our movie was about. This guy who became a Top Gun flyer. That's what the short story is about. It's about a guy doing his first aircraft carrier landings on, when he's just qualified to be a Top Gun flyer.
Is there anything you can do with that? Like to go to SAG or?
No. It was enough different that there was no, although I could hear some of my dialogue in there, when they're flying around in the sky and they're going, I'm sitting in the theater going, I wrote that line. I wish I had written Top Gun. That would have been great. But I didn't. And but that script was a great script. I loved it. And there was another script that I wrote called The Sailmaker, which never got made, but people have wanted to make it. I don't know if it'll ever get made, but we worked on that for years, one rewrite after another, one director after another, and but it never got made. We weren't producers, so we didn't have any control.
Yeah. So the next movie that's on here that got made was Marked for Death. How'd you come about working with Seagal?
Yeah, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Seagal's insane. You can keep that on the record. He is absolutely. He should be certifiably put away. He's one of the worst people I ever met in my life. I had to spend 2 years with the great man.
So here again, this is a story that I heard from somebody I interviewed, but I interviewed William Sadler.
Yeah.
So he was the bad guy in Hard to Kill, and he was Seagal, and he said so. The ending scene of the movie was like too graphic when they had like audiences check it out, so they had to do a reshoot. And at that point, whoever the director of Hard to Kill was and Seagal weren't talking for like months before that. So William Sadler came up with the ending for the movie, and the director goes, "That's a great idea. How about you go pitch it to Seagal?" And when I interviewed him, he did like a little Seagal impersonation, but he said, "Yeah, it was like because he worked with in the same year." He had Die Hard 2 and Hard to Kill, so I said, "How is working with Bruce Willis and Seagal?" And he was like, "Oh, Bruce is great." And then he's like, "And Seagal."
Yeah, and
was
Seagal.
he just too intense, or at this time he was already like? I'm trying to think what movie this would have been in his realm, but this is probably like number 3 of his.
He knows more than anybody about anything.
Yeah.
He's the most egocentric person you could ever meet. He wanted us to hire him a bodyguard. And he's like 6'4", carries a .45 on his hip, and he's supposed to be like hands, he could kill people with his legs and hands. And he wants a bodyguard. He was a bodyguard. He wants a bodyguard. He spent money spent money like insane. He had, every lunch was $100. Back then the $100, that's like spending $200 today.
Oh yeah. So was this a movie that you were hired to somebody came up to you?
We wrote it on spec and brought it and we're talking to Seagal. Seagal pitched us a movie. Dig this. He pitched us a movie. He said, "This happened to me in Japan when I was a bodyguard in Japan." And so he pitches this story. So we go to our agent at CAA and we say, we had a great meeting with Seagal. He pitched us this really cool story. And so our agent goes, "Yeah, what'd he pitch?" So we tell him what he pitched. And he says, "That's Black Rain. It's coming out next week." Seagal read the script and just repeated it to you. That's how insane he was. I swear to God, he didn't know reality from fantasy. I think, he read that script, he saw himself in the role, so he thought he lived it. I don't know. So we just went with our script. We wrote.
That's good.
So then we got writing the story that we wanted to write, and which was going back to our hometown in Highland Park, Illinois. We had read an article in Time magazine that the Rastafarian gangs that took over a small town in the Midwest. They just went up to anybody that was selling dope and shot them in the head, and took over the whole running of the whole town. And the police were afraid of them, and everyone was afraid of them. Blah blah blah. So we thought, well, this will make a good movie. So that became Marked for Death. And Seagal wanted writing credit, and he didn't write anything. Oh, he also, when we turned in the script and the studio gave it a green light, he wrote a script himself while he was on a plane, flying from somewhere to somewhere, and turned it into the studio. And the studio called us and said, "What the fuck is this? We're not greenlighting this." They said, "What? What? We didn't know what he was talking about." And then we went to the studio and they showed us this script. It made no sense whatsoever. Said, "Well, this Seagal wrote. We didn't have anything to do with it. We didn't even know he was doing it. The script that you greenlit, that's the one we want to do." So they said, "Okay, we'll just deal with Steven." So,
but is it just an ego thing, or is it just making a few more bucks? Because there's stories of Stallone doing this, Paul Hogan for Crocodile Dundee.
It's just ego. It's pure ego.
Wild.
Yeah, they're actors, They're,
sure.
But Seagal, everybody I've ever talked to who worked with Seagal said he's the worst person I ever worked with in my life. He literally gave me, I had brown hair before I started. I had gray hairs on the side of my head after I finished that movie.
How long was the shoot of that movie that you had to deal with him one-on-one?
Oh, well, we had to deal with him in pre-production. We had to deal with him in post-production. We had to deal with him during, the production was way shorter than pre-production or post.
Yeah.
So, it was a good, how went face to face? Oh, I'd say a year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
A lot. With Steven Seagal, that's like, 10 years with anybody else.
Yeah. So the one movie that you made a few years after that was, as a kid, it was such a cool movie. I use the word, but Cool World. How did that idea come up?
That came up because I knew what Ralph Bakshi wanted to do, what his taste was. And so they called us in to pitch it to him at, I think it was Paramount Studios. And so we were just the writers. We came in. I came up with the story and he had gangsters and hookers and, cops and, he loved all that shit. We pitched it to him and he just jumped up in the air and said, "You're my guys." So we were hired to write that. So, we had never written anything that was, hadn't written anything that was, animated. So I asked Bakshi, I said, "So how do you write for animation?" And he gave me the greatest example that just completely turned my head around, and I got right into it. He said, "Imagine you're filming from inside an eyeball that's rolling down a stairway, and you see everything from the eyeball's point of view." He said, "In other words, you can do anything." So, we did what we could.
So with your quote unquote pen to paper, how did you like the end product?
Well, it wasn't. I really thought that the animation was going to be better than it was. A lot of it, I thought it was going to be as good as Roger Rabbit, and it didn't even come close to that quality. I didn't think. Although I hear that it's like a stoner hit. People, kids like it. I didn't know about the ending was different than our ending, but the basic story of a guy who gets, in our story, he got sent to jail for murder, and I think it was he murdered his wife, and then he became famous in jail, and he came back to the neighborhood that he had lived in before and bought the house across the street from the family of the woman that he murdered. So it was a lot more tension in it, to say the least. Yeah. And, but other than that, he became he became famous. He started out a tattoo artist, then became a comic book, dark comic book artist and was famous and moved out, So the basic stories was all the same. I just thought the animation would be better, but it wasn't. So there you go.
So did you know, like, right away? I know you didn't have the producer end of it, but when you found out who was cast in it, it was pretty top-notch people. Obviously, Brad Pitt was, up and coming.
Brad Pitt had just come off of Thelma and Louise, and Kim Basinger, and oh my God, we were thrilled. Yeah, it was fantastic. So they loved the script. They were attracted to the roles, and that's our job.
No,
so
that is.
We did it.
I love that movie, and I watched it a couple of months back, and I still love it. I just love when the animation and like real life collide.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you did. Did. It was fun to write.
No, I bet, especially with the advice you were given. Be able to basically do whatever you want.
Yeah, and they didn't bother us at all while we were writing. So that was good.
Here's a couple of producer credits that, especially now that you mentioned before, I didn't know that before we started chatting, but you said Stephen King might have been the original person that Spielberg was going to ask to write the Poltergeist idea that he had. But is that right? You're a producer on Sleepwalkers?
Yeah.
How is it when you're just a producer and not the writer end of it? I've talked to a few producers, but not for big movies, like that you've done.
Well, we bought the script.
Oh, okay.
It was Stephen King had written. It was the only script he's ever written. He wrote it on spec and put it on the market. And all the studios offered about the highest bid they made was $750, and I paid $1.2 million, I think. And so I just paid $1.2 million just to get it off the market and get done with it, because I knew it would get made. So the minute that we bought it, suddenly everyone was saying, that script is worth $1.5 million. So, I own the underlying rights, basically.
How did you like how that movie came out? Like buying the script, the casting?
Well, the director made a few mistakes. Like the cat suits that he demanded that he make the cat suits, not the special effects people. So he made the cat suits. So the first day we get out, and the actors get into the cat suits, and they can't breathe because there's no vents in the suits.
Was he a seamstress, or did he have any?
I don't remember if he did or not, but he must have believed that he could do it. He did it. He designed them. I don't think he did them himself. He just designed them and gave them to somebody to make, and they were rubber, and they just looked like crap. And so we had to shut down for our first 2 days. We had to shut down and rejig it. And then I wasn't there the whole time. I was in Europe making a UFO series for CBS, and my partner was on the set of Sleepwalkers. So I didn't. I was on the set for, I'd say, I was there for pre-production and probably about half of making the film. Half of production, and then I was in Europe making that UFO abductions and visitors from the unknown and all that, which was great fun.
Yeah, so there was a lot of cool cameos in Sleepwalkers.
Yeah,
Toby Hooper, Clive Barker, King, of course.
We got all our faves, the guys that we looked up to. We got them in the movie.
That
was the best part of it for me.
Oh, I bet. Did you happen to be there when Mark Hamill?
No, I wasn't there. I wasn't there for that last scene.
That was pretty cool that he was in that movie. I know he was in a few movies after that.
Toby Hooper was in it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he was. I lived like 2 blocks from Toby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Pacific Palisades, yeah. He was a really nice guy. Really nice guy. You wouldn't know it from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but he was a really sweet guy. He was a really sweet guy.
I think sometimes those people that are in that, I interviewed a gentleman who played Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the third movie, and he was the nicest guy in the world. And again, like, while they're on set, you know, you've done, obviously, Poltergeist, so, like, when you're doing those movies, like, the end product is really scary and it's really suspenseful. And I'm sure some of the scenes while you're doing it is really suspenseful, but it's different when you're like on set watching it. Like he was telling me some stories.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The first time I saw Poltergeist, because I had never seen it, like I said, we were picketing our own movie.
Yeah.
So Stephen had a private screening and a little theater that was in the studio. And so I came in, and I was a little bit late. I came in with my girlfriend, she and I were getting in a lot of trouble at the time. And anyway, we came in a little late, sat down, and so I was sitting in like the front row. But, you know, it was just this tiny theater. And the film came on, and it scared me. I ran out of there. Because I didn't know what to expect, and then suddenly it was like right in front of me. It was so real. So yeah, it's way different than when you're making it than when you're not making it.
That's so cool that you said that.
That's true.
So here's another credit that I have to ask you about.
Yeah.
So on there, it's who killed Atlantis children.
Yeah.
So I don't know if do you watch Mindhunter on Netflix at all?
Yeah, I have.
So the second season is this, mostly.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of inside information about what happened.
Oh, wow.
Because there was one of the producers, the other producer was us, and I can't remember his name, but he's a African American guy, and he was the publisher of some music magazine back then. And for whatever reason, somebody came to him and said, "I have a lot of information about the Atlanta child murders." And so he came to us and said, "I got this inside information. I want you guys to produce it with me," because he had never produced anything. And we said, "Sure." And so we came up with we didn't come up with a story because the story is based on the facts of these two. He was one of the reporters that went down, that's in the movie.
Oh, wow.
He was the Gregory Hines character.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and the guy he went with was another guy who was a real guy, And so we went to Showtime and pitched it, and they said, "Okay, let's do it." And so I forget who wrote that thing. Did we write it? I don't remember.
It has the name on there for writing. Again, these aren't his right, but Charles Robert Garner.
Ah, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie wrote it, and he also directed it. Yeah, he's great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just produced it. And the other producer on there, if you have his name in front of you, that was the guy that had that information.
Let's see the other producers. There are 4. So you, Mark, Rudy, and Peter.
Rudy.
Okay, so Rudy Langlet.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the story's fascinating. Mindhunter is a really well done show. So it's funny that we're talking, and me and my wife are watching it the other night. And I'm like, wait.
So
the same thing that's on here.
The third season of Mindhunters is about Atlanta child murders?
Well, the second season, they're sprinkling it in. So they're like interviewing Charles Manson and Berkowitz. But throughout it, like this is like the main storyline throughout the whole.
Well, the truth of what they found out was that it was the KKK who were doing it. It wasn't some serial killer.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and that's in the show. That's in the movie that we did.
Yeah, I want to watch it. No, as soon as we saw this, me and my wife, I'm like, oh man, we got to check this out.
It's really good. It was really well done. Charlie did a great job.
Jim Belushi, Gregory Hines.
Jim Belushi, Gregory Hines. It was great.
Yeah.
It was terrific.
So you were on set for a lot of this?
Yeah. Yeah, we were on set for that.
Yeah, Jim Belushi is a really cool guy.
He is a cool guy.
He just moved out to Oregon. He's like an Oregon lifer now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Like, I still follow a lot of the stuff when we lived out there, like some of the newspapers and websites, and he's like a big marijuana grower out there. He doesn't really act as much anymore. He like loves doing that.
Yeah, he was a smoker back then.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, he switched. He decided to grow his own. I don't know. Gregory Hines was the sweetest guy. They were both great.
Yeah.
You know, we had dinner with them a bunch of times, and we had a good time.
That's great. Is there anything over the years that might not? I don't know if you ever update your IMDb. Are there any other movies or shows that I haven't mentioned that you want to talk about?
I don't know. I don't know what's in there. I tell you the truth.
No, I can tell you. So the other things that I didn't mention were what you talked about, like the UFO abductions, visitors from the unknown, secrets of the unknown. Were those all the CBS documentaries? Or the CBS
they were all. They were. Yeah, it was like a CBS miniseries. Yeah.
Okay. And
then it was really fun.
Lakeshore Drive, which is from a few years ago. Well, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's a short film that I directed.
How was it directed?
I hated it. I don't want to ever direct. I don't have the wingspan for it. But it turned out really good. But I'd rather hire them and watch them work.
Yeah.
And because they really are. You got to be really obsessed with directing to be a director. I mean, it's really a difficult job. I mean, you have to be as obsessed with being a director as I am with being a writer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've sat for weeks and weeks working on a script, for hours upon hours, and I'm never bored. I might be frustrated or angry about it, but most of the time I'm sailing. I'm happy. I'm in another world. It's like, and cool, like going back to Cool World. I mean, to be in that world, to write that was so much fun. I'll tell you, it was a blast. It was a blast.
Do you have a particular,
you're thinking about that movie and you're writing that movie, whatever movie it is. You're thinking about it. You're writing it. You're thinking about it. You're in that movie more than you're in real life. So you're really in that movie.
Do you have a process that you go through when you're writing? Is it like, okay, I set a schedule or I lock myself in this room? Is there anything that Michael Grais does to get it going?
No. I start outlining. I start figuring out the outline, like weeks or months ahead of time. And that's off and on, because I'm starting to get ideas. I put those ideas in there, and, it's kind of, there's no timeline to it or anything like that. And then when I do fade in, and I start writing, then my wife gets mad at me because all I do is sit and write. Don't pay any attention to her. So the last thing, I just wrote a pilot that I optioned a book about a young female Celtic warrior, and I just got obsessed with it, and I just wrote until I hurt my knee, and I just dragged it around behind me, like I didn't have a body, I just dragged it around until finally, after I finished the pilot, I finally went to the doctor. And, now I got a brace on it. I'm doing exercises and stuff. But that's just I just couldn't stop writing. I just loved I love the character. She's like a girl with a dragon tattoo in the 2nd century, in Ireland. And it's fantastic. So
that's awesome. Would you say it was going to be optioned as a book?
Yeah, I optioned the book, and I've written all the screenplays. Mark was the businessman, and I was the writer, and
okay.
he was a lawyer. He made great deals. He made better deals than any lawyers we hired or any agents. And so since we separated in 2000, I've traveled around and lived in Mexico for years, and lived in Taos, New Mexico for years. And then I started writing, and I've written like 5 screenplays now that are, on my website. If you go to it, you'll see what I've done. It's
what's your website?
GracelandEntertainment.com.
Oh, that's an awesome name.
Yeah. So Graceland, Greis, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has all the stuff that I'm doing. So you'll see the thing about the Irish warrior woman too.
Oh, cool. So you have like the ideas. You don't have the scripts.
Oh yeah, no, they're all done. They're finished. I have two series that I finished, the pilots, and 4 screenplays. But I have the Lakeshore Drive, the full length movie of Lakeshore Drive, the screenplay for that. And I have a movie that I just finished called The Spear of Destiny, which I've been working on off and on for 5 years, and I finally got it right. And I just now turned it into my manager. And I have a new partner, so he's in L.A., and I'm in Northern California. So I have so, I don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't wanted to be there since 2000, actually. And I think I'm planning on moving again somewhere. I've been in Sonoma for 9 years. It's about 5 years too long. My wife and I are gypsies. We like to move around.
I know. Me and my wife were like that. We moved a lot. We were living in.
Have you really?
We almost moved to Toronto at one point, but we just had a baby. So our baby's 8 months old, and we want to make sure she has like a foundation. So we bought a house in West New Jersey.
Oh, well, great. So that's cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we finally did it. So she's only 8 months, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, my wife's niece just had a baby, she lives in Madrid, so we're going to Madrid.
Oh, that means you're gonna stay in Madrid.
Yeah, we'll be staying in Madrid for a while, I'm sure.
I bet.
we went to Barcelona, and we went all over Spain last September, and England, and loved it. We just, Spain just was, Barcelona especially was just really, I'm also a painter, so it really was inspiring for my artwork. And
that's awesome. What do you like to paint? Like, what's your medium?
Well, I've been doing acrylic on paper or on canvas, and I also been doing digital art too. And if you want to see that, I'm at Michael Grais on Instagram. A lot of my stuff is on there.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in there, and I'll start following you. That's awesome. Cool.
That's great. Yeah, I really, when I'm not writing, I'm painting.
It's very therapeutic.
So, yeah, it is. And it really, it's a whole other mindset from writing, so it's really a relief. And then when I come back to writing, I'm relieved to be done painting. And vice versa, So it's a good balance. Good balance.
Yeah. So Michael, thanks so much for taking the time. I have 2 quick questions for you. So I know you've written a lot of scripts that haven't obviously, like you said, you're always writing. People say, hey, write this. Is there a particular genre that you'd love to be able to write a script for and see it like on the big screen? Because you've done it, horror, you've done action.
Well, I love writing action. And the script that I just finished, that I told you it took 5 years for me to get it right.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that film. I'd love to see on screen more than anything.
Okay.
It's about 5 vampire girls who were changed into vampires against their will, and now they're fighting the bad vampires for the spear of destiny, which is the spear that pierced the side of Christ when he was on the cross, and his blood went onto the spearhead and gave it magical powers. And that's an object that is in reality is the real thing. It's in the Hofstra Museum in Austria, and Hitler had it in his bunker.
Oh, wow.
That's the first thing he did when he took control. He invaded Austria, went and got the spearhead, and brought it back to Berlin. So that's in the story. But it's not. It all takes place in Miami, so it's all it's really glossy. It's really lit and modern and hip and fun and a lot of action, a lot of shooting, a lot of shooting. Yeah, it's fun.
I can see that being made.
Yeah, I think it will get made. And that's what I'd like to see on the screen most right now.
Cool. Well, no, I'll definitely see that. And then last question, I know you love writing, you love what you do. I can just hear it through, everybody listening can hear this. But if you weren't a writer, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Probably be in jail.
For life? What crime? What crime?
I don't know. I was always in trouble as a kid. If I didn't write, I would have been in trouble. I'll tell you.
Well, we're all happy that you became a writer because
thank
so
you
many great things, and that sounds great. That movie sounds really good. So what's that process right? Is that a movie, the one with the 5 vampire girls? Is that a movie that you want to produce too? So are you pitching
Which one?
that?
The one I just told you about?
Yeah, the one you just mentioned. Yeah, the vampires.
Oh, it's I finished the screenplay, and I'll be the producer on it. Yeah, with my partner, Carlos Barbosa. And, and it'll, whoever it goes to will be a producer too. It takes a village. There's always lots of producers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would be on that big time. I would want to be on it a lot because I really love it, and I see it, and I think I could be a help to whoever's directing it.
Sweet. Well, yeah, I'll keep tabs on you on Instagram and all social media, and then I'll put all the links there so everybody can check it out. But thanks so much for taking the time. Like, this hour has been so awesome.
Thank you. Enjoy your wife and baby.
Yes. And enjoy moving to Spain or wherever you're going to go after that.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy that a lot, I'll tell you.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day.
All right.
Man, Michael was so awesome. Like I said, he was a little timid in the beginning, but I think I warmed him up pretty quick, and it makes me feel great. It makes me feel like folks are having a good time talking to me. So now I'm having a great time talking to them. So follow him on Instagram at Michael Grais, and I'll put it in the notes along with his IMDb so you can keep some tabs on him and check out some of the movies that he's done over the years that we didn't mention. So now you have to go get scared along with us and watch Poltergeist 2. And it's on Hulu, free, so you don't have to worry about paying for it if you have Hulu. And I'm sure most people do. If not, it's all over the internet. So check it out and be sure to subscribe, rate, review, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your neighbors. And thanks for listening. Happy watching. Good night.